Hello.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, we are Court and Ob, and welcome to EnvironMental Podcast.
Yeah, this is our podcast where we deep dive into different aspects of sustainability. And lately, we've been chatting with experts in the sustainability sector. If you love this type of content, please subscribe so that it shows up in your feed.
Definitely. And today we are joined by Richard Dickson, who is the co-founder of Play It Green. Richard, thank you so much for being here.
Hi.
Hello,
Hi.
hello.
Really good to be here.
Really stoked to kind of, pick your brain a little bit and get to know more about what you do. So thank you again. Can you kind of introduce yourself to the audience and let them know a little bit about what you do?
Sure. So I'm one of the two co-founders of a company called Play It Green. Play It Green, we set up to help people and businesses be more sustainable, learn how to reduce their footprints. And whilst they're on that journey of reduction, we help them plant trees and have a bigger social impact as we give 10% of our revenue to charity. We launched 2 years ago, and we're now working with approximately 180 businesses worldwide, and grown every week.
That is phenomenal.
Amazing.
Wow. 2
Thank
years.
you.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing growth that you've seen. Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, so folks basically, a business or an individual can reach out to you and in the hopes of kind of lessening their footprint, and then you help them through that process. Is that right?
Yeah, so basically it's a subscription service. We originally launched for individuals, but a business signed up and it sort of grew and snowballed from there. And we have a really simple 3-step solution to climate change, which is to reduce their footprint through tips, education, signposting and discounts on sustainable products and services. We then plant 13 trees a month for people in the UK. It varies from country to country because footprints are different everywhere in the world. And then the subscription's £5 a month in the UK, and 50p of that then goes to the members' charity. We send a weekly tip out via an email, and every member has access to their own members platform we call a forest garden that shows their impact. They can share their impact, they can run campaigns, and then it has a full educational section that has content on individual and family tips, business tips, and then we also provide templates and policies that businesses can use to move forward with their net zero strategy.
Wow. Yeah. So it definitely sounds like you're getting people kind of at a lot of different points in their journey, you're giving them kind of resources depending on where they're at. That's fantastic.
Correct. Sustainability starts with education, and we really focus on
Absolutely.
educational content. We break it down and make it simple and easy to understand, because there's a big problem in the sustainability world where there's lots of long words and new words coming out. And even last week, I read an article about green hushing. So now you've got to worry about greenwashing and green hushing, and it's just another thing for businesses to worry about. And the problem with that is it stops people doing anything because there's so much to take in, and they think it's so hard and takes so much time and so much money. People just don't do a thing. Right. And what we've tried to do is break sustainability down and make it more simple, easier to understand, but still keeping it aspirational and showing people that it's an enjoyable journey. It's sort of creating a shift in consciousness. So instead of being a traditional consumer and getting your dopamine and your enjoyment from buying new products, we're trying to shift consciousness so people think, do we need that? Can we buy it secondhand? Is there a sustainable alternative?
Yeah.
So, and what happens when we do that with an individual? They're a part of the community. And so that feeds into that community, whether it's a business community, the people you work with, or whether it's your social community at home, and it sort of creates change in very small micro adjustment steps. So people don't notice the big change, it just happens over time.
Yeah, absolutely. We have shifting the baseline the other way or so.
Correct.
Like I had, so it's a personal story, but my mother-in-law came over like a week ago, and she was like, "You're famous." And I said, What? And she was like, "Well, I went to a sustainability, I'm taking a sustainability in gardening course so that, and when they asked me why I was there, I said, because my daughter-in-law I always want to help my daughter-in-law in the garden, but every time I go to pick a weed, she's like, no, 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 that one feeds the bees, or like, don't, that one's food. So I want to understand why she doesn't let me weed the garden and why we're always pulling out grass and things that aren't like helpful.
Hmm.
And I thought that, well, it was one of the sweetest things anyone has ever said to me, but also I thought of that, of like, this is how one person's change or one person's conviction can change in a whole community. Because yeah, she's connected to so many people that are older, that she's going to share that information moving forward and maybe inspire her neighbor, or something with a new
Mhm.
beautiful garden. Yeah, so it made me really excited to see this, like, it works, one person's action and being open about it. It's exciting.
It really is. And it's funny, my background's psychology. And so when I came into sustainability and realized that it wasn't just about trees and offset, that there was
Yeah.
a lot more, and it was about behavior change, it really excited me, because it's possible to do. We're programmable people. At the end of the day, we can be trained just like anyone else, and it's about the dopamine and what we perceive as value. And what we've tried to do with Play It Green is to show people, yeah, there is a better way, and to empower people back to having that ability to make their own decision, as opposed to just living by the advertising that we're fed, and the sort of that side of it. And that's responsible for a lot of the problem we have at the moment, advertising and marketing and PR, because it taps into the brain's dopamine, and it tells you that you're going to feel better and be better and a bigger person if you buy this product. And what we're trying to say is, actually, that's not true. It's our responsibilities to the planet and to our fellow people and to the people that come after us. I mean, the whole idea of sustainability is to leave the planet in as good a shape as we found it, so that future generations can benefit from everything. And so we're trying to create that consciousness shift using those psychology principles. And the part of the problem in society, everyone's been disempowered. We live in a society where Amazon will deliver something tomorrow, and you can have everything. So we just rely on those, and we take it's taken away from. And I spoke at a university, and a lot of the students were asking the same question: how can I, as an individual, make a difference? And you've just shown, haven't you all, that one person can make a change, and that it's just being consistent and keeping going and believing. And I think post COVID, the world's ripe for change as well. I think the Gen Zs, who've always been plugged into information, so they have always known straight away, it's there, this is what I want to know. They're the ones that are demanding this change. And so for me, as an older business person that's dealing with CEOs and CFOs, their questions are normally, what's in it for us? And 5 years ago, it would have been, well, just doing the right thing. Whereas now you can say, well, actually, if you want to stay relevant as a brand, as a business, if you want to grow, you're going to have to change your business process and be transparent. You're going to have to embrace sustainability. And that doesn't just mean your footprint. That means how you treat your staff. That means your equality, your diversity, everything, your mental health support. This all has to be the right way, because otherwise you won't have employees and you won't have consumers.
Absolutely.
And this change is happening, without a doubt. I've seen it so much, and particularly with the younger businesses and business owners, if they don't like a supplier, they just go elsewhere, and the consumers are exactly the same, and they're vocal about it too. I think it's really exciting times for change.
I think you hit the nail on your head. I'm really interested, and I really love the way you're speaking about it, because I like, it's about the dopamine, it's about the communication, it's about the transparency. And like you were saying before, as a business owner, you have to worry about greenwashing, and now you have to worry about green hushing. But the solution to that problem as a business owner are the same thing: transparency, and like just being fair and equitable. And that's just part of sustainability, right? So,
Correct.
Mm.
I think the biggest,
the words change, but the actions don't. And
correct.
that's cool.
Yeah, one of the biggest issues business owners face, they don't know where to start. They're too worried about making mistakes. They're worried about reputational risk. So they just don't do anything, which is the worst thing they can do in actual fact.
Yep.
And what we say is just start, do something. I mean, that's why we have our subscription service, because straight away you're educating the staff. And we give away all the extra stuff that consultants would charge for, because we think people should just have access to it to run the business. But don't worry about making mistakes, because if you are transparent and open and you do something and it doesn't work and you talk about it, you're helping both your competitors and you're explaining to your consumers and your staff, and you create positive change that way. Fear isn't it's silly, just get started. There's a lovely phrase in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is win or learn. And I really like that, because if you're rolling with someone and you beat them, you're not going to learn much. But if you're rolling with someone that's better than you, you're always going to learn from them. And so it's a good mantra for life, really, isn't it? Don't worry about failing, because the failures are where we learn. And we're trying to get businesses to realize that. Most of them that we speak to do, and it is just about starting.
Do you feel like you're in an echo chamber of businesses that come to you because they're already at a stage where they want to take steps towards sustainability? Or do you...
It's a mix. So we have some partners, for example, Manchester Central, who were well on their journey to being sustainable. They'd already calculated their up to scope 3 emissions, and they were looking at ways to do all sorts of stuff to reduce their footprint. And they came to us because it's a great way to educate their staff and make their staff literate and create a culture shift within the business, which it does, because people start then looking for solutions at work as well as at home, because they've done something at home through the tips that we give, and then they go, oh, we can do this at work. And then there's other businesses that just want to start, and they didn't have a clue where to start, and signing up is really simple. It takes 2 minutes and they're on a journey then. And then it's a spectrum of all of those. I am aware sustainability is a bubble, and actually as a business we try and keep out of it. We still have loads of partners that within that sustainability world for providing carbon literacy training and sustainable services, but we try and keep in the real world, just because then we meet all the challenges and the issues, and our whole business has been built around making a set of business processes that answered those challenges. You know, things like, how do we know the trees are planted and protected? Are they making an actual difference? All those questions we built our business model to answer, because I'm really aware of reputational risk and how the old money and the media wants to knock sustainability as much as it can. Media sells on negativity. It's proven. You can see that. So we built a transparent platform and a transparent business. And down to the fact that we have like board meeting minutes on the About Us page, and our accounts and our receipts and things. That way, if you want to know about us and see how transparent we are, just go on that page. And I think if every business did that and had nothing to hide, no one would begrudge them anything. It would be, look at how great they are. And I wish every business realised that if you've got something to hide, it will be hidden. If you've nothing to hide, why not just be a transparent business?
Yeah, fair. I don't know if we could put our meeting minutes on our About page, because we are a company that is run by side notes. So we're on
a lot of tangents.
Side note, we tangent.
we have a very set board, because we're just so busy as co-founders. The business model has been to try and keep the money on the business, spent on the business, to a minimum, so that the money that comes in does the maximum impact, and that's always been our model. So yeah, board reports are always, you could just see when I get told off if I've not followed through on something.
Fair, that's fair. So a lot of what you do, so you educate and help people reduce their footprints, and then you do reforestation projects. And I
Correct.
think we haven't talked to a reforestation partner directly yet about exactly what you were just saying about answering the questions around how do you know that tree planting is helpful, and how do you make sure that it like captures the carbon and they don't die, and all of those things. And yeah, like you said, you have answers for those. So do you have like a
Yeah,
spiel that you
so
give? Because yeah.
so it's not really a spiel, but I did research before we set the business up on all of the tree planting organisations, and one stood out, which is Eden Reforestation, who all of the big businesses use and who have all done due diligence and spent lots of money with legal people to check their legits. And it was their model that attracted me, because rather than us paying for trees, it actually goes to wages for the communities who are employed to plant, monitor and protect the trees. And we plant in Madagascar at the moment. We're expanding to other countries this year. But during the wildfires in Madagascar, it was actually the Eden employees that were helping the fire service, because they had more training in dealing with forest fires than the fire service had, because they were dealing with urban fires and things like that, whereas the Eden people had the training. And there's loads of documentation and content about both the social impacts of employing to plant and protect the trees, but also on the impacts on the ecosystem. There's a really good example in Madagascar that the coastal communities relied on the fisheries that were on the coast. But when they cut down the mangroves to use for building materials and firewood, the sediment from the rivers basically flowed out to sea, and the coastal waters were brown and the fish went away. But within 5 or 6 years of the mangroves being replaced, the fish had come back and the economy returns. So it's all this balance of nature. So I think the Eden CEO said for every tree they plant, nature plants 10 more, because obviously the way nature works is a tree grows, it has seeds, the birds eat the fruit, the seeds get out and other trees are created. So even if some die, many more grow, and you can see that on the satellite imagery. And what's really cool is we're going to very soon have access to satellite imagery of the planting sites. I don't think even Eden have the scale of access that we've been provided by a really cool partner, and we'll have 48 hours or less satellite imagery of the planting site. So if you tracked it over a few months, you'd be able to see the development and the growth, which is really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, really excited. This is the beauty with tech and LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a wonderful thing. You get to speak to people from across the world who see a post you've done, and all of a sudden you've got a partnership, which just didn't happen, 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. So you've got people on the ground that are actually like there, but also, I mean, the satellite imagery, that is, talk about transparency. Yeah, you can't argue with that. That's amazing.
Yeah, if you want to work with another business, be transparent. The world has definitely changed. Everything used to be transactions, and it used to be how much is this relationship worth, whereas now it's more about partnerships and collaborations and the people behind the business. And what we found, we signpost to loads of different services, and we don't ask for a penny. We just say, this is the business that we would recommend, this is how much they'll charge, they'll give you some discount, but we don't take anything from that. It's just a good relationship to have. We're adding value, and then they will introduce us to some of their clients as well. And that's that trust relationship and that transparency. It means that when you're working with someone, you feel comfortable saying, look, you should be working with this company as well. And I think that's really important. It's a new way, isn't it? It's less cutthroat and more empathetic.
Empathetic,
communal kind of, just creating communities.
Well, and the plan with Play Green was to create the world's largest community of change makers. That was our goal when we set it up, was to have all these individual and business members creating change within their business and in the world. and use tech as the platform to scale it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's an incredible mission. Yeah.
Yeah. It's necessary, like we're in a place where like the IPCC synthesis report came out yesterday. I tried to download it, but we broke the sustainability people broke the internet. You could not get access to that site yesterday. Refresh. But we're in a place where like it's almost too late. And for a lot of things, it is too late. And we need to make a change to every single part of what we've built in society.
Correct.
And that comes from mindset change. Like you were saying, we can't approach commerce or business with this like ultra competitive anti screw everybody else in this business attitude anymore. It really has to come from, what do you have that you can do? How can I work together with you? Let's partner. Let's save the damn world. Come on, we got, and it also feels so much nicer.
Yeah, people wake up feeling good about themselves in the morning. When it boils down to it, listen, I've had jobs where I've earned a lot of money. It doesn't make you happy. You have stuff, but it does not make you happy. I always had this feeling that there was something missing. And actually, since we set Play It Green up, I feel like every day we're having a positive impact. The first thought when we make a business decision is, how is it going to increase our impact? If it doesn't, we don't do it. And I think that shifts. It's really, really necessary. It really is. But it's not difficult now because of the way the internet works and social media works. You can create that mass message and it can create change overnight. One thing COVID taught us, the earth repairs itself very quickly when we don't treat it badly, because 12 months of no cars on the road and look how nature was recovering. And there's some great stories, like when they reintroduced wolves into Yellowstone Park, and it changed the way the rivers moved. And nature has balance. And I know we talk about climate change destroying the planet. It wouldn't do. It would just get rid of us. But
yeah, exactly. Planet's kind of fine. We're just kind of screwing ourselves over, right?
Which is the craziest thing, isn't it? That we know, it's undeniable climate change is here. It's man-made. It's undeniable that, I heard a fact yesterday, was it the percentage of body mass of wild animals is below 10% now.
Yep.
Of all creatures, whereas it used to be, 70, 80%, and we've switched. It's like 80% is now commercial animals, isn't it, that are bred for food. Yeah. Very weird. We live in strange times, but as we say, lots of opportunities for change. It just takes one or two big influencers to start constantly putting the message out and believing in it. Not you get the Hollywood A-list celebrities that support sustainability, but they don't constantly bang on about it. They're fitting in with the mainstream, and unfortunately the mainstream is the negative press, and the world's going to end because that's what gets clicks.
And a ton of greenwashing.
Correct.
Ton of
so
greenwashing.
Much, and even the companies that think they're doing the right thing are quite often greenwashing, which is really sad, because quite often they come from the right sort of frame of mind, but they don't think it through properly. It's unfortunate. Yes.
Yeah, but that's to go back to the education piece, right? It's like, if you don't know, like if your company doesn't have a trained sustainability officer, and you're operating a larger company, and you just have somebody like, your regular marketer guy that just writes stuff, like there's a disconnect between what's actually happening, right? Is your marketer running it by your sustainability person? Maybe they should be. If you don't have a sustainability person, you need one. Like, Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like one of the reasons we set Play It Green up, the educational content. We break it down in the members area. It's all broken down into the business, into education, into individual and family tips. So the stuff's all there, and then all the content is very simple: how to engage your team, the difference between net zero and carbon neutral, things you should say, things you shouldn't say. Just helps, because sustainability should be just what we do. It shouldn't be something that you pay a consultant 10 grand a year or have to get in a head of sustainability to run it for your business. It should just be, everyone should know it. It should be just like maths and English. It should be part, because what's more important than how we leave the planet for future generations? Nothing else really matters if there's no planet left. We've failed as a species if the planet isn't there. And the mad thing is, the answers are all there. It's really simple. It's really easy. It's just got to create action rather than intent. That's the difficult bit. I've actually found myself being a bit cheeky recently. I've had businesses say, the time's not right for us. And my response is now, when is the time right? Because really, the right time was 20 years ago. It wasn't today. And it's definitely not in 6 months' time when your budget allows it, because...
And didn't you say it's like $5 a month or something?
£5 a month per employee. And I say everything else, all the support is free. The services that we can signpost are always discounted. And we have an amazing network of partners to provide all sorts of things. Anything sustainability wise, from solar panels on your roof to carbon literacy to taking your waste plastic and turning it into other things with a 3D printer. We've got partners that do all sorts. So it's very exciting.
That's cool. I've been looking at that recently, of like the recycled plastic 3D printing marriage. It's very cool.
Circular,
especially in like construction.
The construction's a big issue at the moment, because it's not just construction, it's retrofit, which is causing all sorts of problems for housing associations and the like.
Boy, do I know it. We've been renovating our house for the last 2.5 years, to like do all the retrofitting, changing it for solar, changing it for heat pump in the future, and all the floor heating. It's
and it's really expensive, because all the suppliers know that there's a high demand, so they can put their prices up. Crazy, but that's capitalism with no checks and balances, isn't it? It's And what's really weird, in wartime, if someone was a profiteer, you could end up in prison, profiting from other people's misery and things. And if you think about how the sustainability situation and crisis we're in, people are profiteering from that. Again, being conscious doesn't just go towards the climate, it's capitalism as well, being a more conscious capitalist, rather than just looking at the profit, look at the impacts, look at everything doing it right, so that when that profit comes, it's clean, it's, you can be proud of it in every way. Mobile phones are a really good example. Everyone has one, but where does the lithium in the batteries come from? And we still all have one. I do buy second-hand phones. I would say to everyone, get a second-hand, stop buying new, because straight away the manufacturers will have to do something, because if you stop buying their products, they're not going to make the same products, are they? I think there's
that helps reduce like planned obsolescence is a huge problem. Like I have this thing, it's a Onyx Books, it's like a writer. I love it, but I wanted to buy secondhand. This company, no shade, but they release like 3 upgrades a year, and then and then they stop production on the other thing, and then they start a whole new. I was like, no, I'm going to buy a secondhand, the first edition. I did a bunch of research. There's not that much of a difference. It's all planned obsolescence.
Mm-hmm. It's that dopamine again. What they want to do is say there's a bigger, better one. Have it, and you'll feel good for about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And then that's why people get buyer's remorse, because they get the dopamine hit and then suddenly it drops and they go, oh, did I really need that? And actually, I find it really cool going on eBay and getting bargains. A great example, I bought an Alexander McQueen jacket on eBay for £60.
What?
It came in a bag, scrumpled up and all creased and a bit of a mess, and it needed a stitch on one of the cuffs. But I had it dry cleaned and restitched, and it looks amazing. And I wear it now when I go to important meetings, and I feel like $1 million. It's cool. And it cost me 60 quid. It's £900 if I was to buy it.
Yeah.
And the dopamine I got when I put that on and thought, oh my God, how much have I saved? And there's no impact from the delivery.
Yeah.
And so that's that consciousness shift. Again, it's not a big shift, is it? But actually, by everyone doing that and stopping buying new and shifting their consumer behaviors, they will create global change, because
absolutely
the big companies and corporations will suddenly realize, oh no. And if you actually look, some of the fast fashion companies are now doing repairs and recycling and returns. It doesn't excuse what they're doing, but it shows that they're realizing that this change is coming and they have to adapt.
Yeah, that's a catch-22. It's hard to say. It's hard not to demonize the companies that are causing these massive, massive issues, but it's also like hard to just keep them in that place of like, you suck, I'm never gonna go there, right? We have to expect them to make changes and to do something. Yeah.
There is, you're right, there's an absolute sort of philosophical dilemma, because they will influence change by changing, because quite often the people that buy their products aren't thinking about the environment, because it's fast fashion, and if they were thinking about the environment, they probably wouldn't buy them. So it is making those people now start to think about it. It still doesn't justify their practices and their impact on the planet. So it's like, as you say, a catch-22. But one of the things that we took a decision as a business, we only focus on the positives. So everyone sees the negatives, everyone knows the negatives. And when you are presented with negative facts, something that might be scary to you or might make you worry about your future, it causes stress hormones, and those are not good for your health. They're not good for action. Whereas if you're presented with the opposite, i.e. on a Monday, we produce good news, 3 businesses or people that have done amazing things. And we focus on the individual within the business and then what the business has done. And a good example was this week we talked about Budweiser, and they're going to be using hydrogen power to brew their beer. Absolutely fantastic. But it was one person within the business that decided, it had the first idea. And again, we go back to, this is empowerment. That's one person. So just like you are one person, the reader, they can create that change as well. And that positivity, every week we'll get messages saying, oh, we didn't know that, that's amazing, it gives us hope. That's the whole idea, doesn't get as many clicks as telling everyone the world's ending, but Google seems to like it, because we are slowly working our way up on the authority levels and things with Google.
Oh yeah.
Cool. So it's
great.
Yeah, it's interesting, and all the statistics point to consumers demanding change.
Absolutely.
Which is very exciting, and we have seen a big upsurge in sort of Gen Z companies joining us, which is very cool. And Gen Z companies, when I was a kid, when I was 19 or 20, people didn't set companies up. They didn't have the skills, the power, the knowledge, the infrastructure to do it. And one of our partners set his first business up at 16 and has just left uni at 19 to run his business.
Wow.
So really cool. We're living in times of great change. We've just got to take our responsibility to make it positive change seriously.
Absolutely. Do you mostly work with folks in the UK, or can anybody globally connect with you?
Yeah, we work in 9 countries now. So the next stage of development of the website is to create it multilingual. We've got all the footprint calculations for every country, and that will be, I would have thought, the end of this year that the new platform will launch multi-language, multi-currency, correct footprints for every country just based on where your location is. But businesses, sustainability is the same the world over, and how to reduce a business footprint doesn't really change from one country to another.
Right.
And a lot of our suppliers are global suppliers as well. So yeah, and we do have plans as well to do some online training that people will be able to access through the members platform eventually. It just means if we can do it online and have videos and tests afterwards, that can be scaled, as opposed to the carbon issues training that goes on at the moment, where it's in person and you can have 20 people or 40 people in a room. That's not scalable, and we need to have something where businesses can just, get an hour, 2 hours with the staff and start that education process, kickstart it.
Cool.
Sounds amazing. Yeah. A lot in the works. Right?
Yes. Yeah, it needs to be done, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It does.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Man. So yeah, gosh, I mean, I think that if folks want to kind of get involved and learn more, how can they get in touch?
So
where can they find you?
The website's playitgreen.com, and they can get in touch with me at richard@playitgreen.com. So everything's on the website. The sign up process is really simple as well. It's a 2-minute thing.
That's, wow. Perfect.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And thank you for sticking around and listening to us chat with Richard. Again, if this is something you loved, we come to you twice a month with EnvironMental. So make sure you like and subscribe. See you next time.
Thanks. Bye-bye.